Joining me right now is the Speaker of the House, Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, it's great to have you this morning.
Great to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
What a convention. I want to get your take on what you're seeing out there ahead of the president's hotly anticipated speech tonight.
You know, I sat with President Trump in the box last night. We talked about this. He said, I don't think there's ever been this kind of energy at a Republican convention. There hasn't. I mean,
Really?
Not in my memory, not in my lifetime. It's super exciting. People here have so much energy, and I think that's being felt around the country. I've been traveling nonstop around the nation. I've done events in 144 cities in 31 states in the last 7 months, campaigning with all of our candidates, the incumbents, and then the people who we're going to use to flip these seats from blue to red. I tell you what, there's an energy out there in the base, and it has reached a crescendo now. After the failed assassination attempt, this has become personal and real to people. I think we're headed for a great November.
How many seats do you think you can gain in November?
You know, I'm not going to handicap it. You get in trouble when you do that. But I'll tell you, we're very bullish about November. There's a number of seats that we believe that we can flip back into the Republican column so that we can grow the House majority, have a much safer majority, a much easier way to govern that way, that we'll win back the Senate for the Republican Party, and Donald J. Trump will be the 47th president. It's really exciting. We're going to have a very aggressive first 100 days agenda beginning in January. We have to fix everything.
Yeah, well, the border, is that the priority, or is there something else?
Border's going to be top of the list, of course. It should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then we'll get right to getting the economy going again. Regulatory reform, the taxes. We've got to make sure that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, all of that doesn't expire. We have a big, aggressive agenda. What's exciting is that the Senate and the House are coordinating together, and with the Trump administration. J.D. Vance and I talked for 30 minutes yesterday, preliminary plans. We don't put the cart before the horse, but we do have to be prepared to lead and to govern, and we will be.
Very good, Mr. Speaker. I want to turn your attention to what's going on at the Secret Service. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is now complying with the House Oversight Committee subpoena for her to appear for a hearing and testimony on the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The hearing is set for Monday of next week. Oversight subpoena states the Secret Service was initially open to working with the committee and having Cheadle testify, but we're told that the Department of Homeland Security officials intervened. They were trying to stop it. What can you tell us?
We're hearing that. We've got to get down to the bottom of it. We organized a call yesterday for all House members, Republican and Democrats. We had most of them on the call. We had the FBI Director Christopher Wray, and we had Director Cheadle, Secret Service. They did not give us satisfactory answers to some very important questions, and some of it needs to be in a classified setting, I suppose. But I'm prepared this morning to call on President Biden to fire to Director Cheadle. Yesterday, I said that she should resign. It's clear that she has no intention to do so. But the oversight here, the mistakes, the ineptitude, whatever it is, was inexcusable. We almost lost the life of a former president, and I think there has to be accountability, and it begins at the top. This is ridiculous.
Well, by the way, I know, thank God, President Trump is okay. I spoke with Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Congressman Jackson told me that he actually examined the president and his ear will heal. But a man is dead. Okay, Mr. Carpenter is dead. Yeah. The family is mourning a father, a former firefighter. So that in and of itself, doesn't that mean that somebody needs to take some accountability here? Are you going to call President Biden and tell him you want her fired?
Yeah, we'll call him. He doesn't take my calls all the time, but we're going to say this publicly, and it begins on your show this morning, that we need to get that done. Listen, we have to have accountability, and we have to have responsibility. The Secret Service has a critical job. The number one job is to protect the president, former presidents, and those who are campaigning for the office in this case, and they did none of that. The fact that there was not just a simple fact. There's the fact there was no drones in the area. I mean, that should be standard practice. I mean, we fly drones over state fairgrounds for public events, much less when you have Donald Trump on the stage, the most maligned, attacked, threatened public figure probably in the history of the country. Of course, that was a high risk, and they did not act accordingly. We're putting together a task force. We're going to act with precision on this. It will be a bipartisan task force in the House with subpoena authority. We will get down to the bottom of this quickly so the American people have all the answers.
I guess my question is, look, if they knew that there was a threat, why did they allow President Trump to walk out on the stage? Why not say, Mr. President, hold off. We have a threat. We need to take care of it. you're going to be delayed?
Yes, that's a very important question among many that we have. One is, did they even inform him if they had these credible threats? It's being publicly reported that Iran was involved in a state-sponsored, a state-approved plan to take him out at a rally. I mean, that's what's being reported, and that's
separate and apart from the shooter.
Yes, and so did they inform President Trump, who was the subject of that? Did he know? Maybe he would have taken that into account before he walked out on the stage.
That's a great
Lots
point.
of questions.
So a Senate briefing revealed Secret Service identified the gunman as suspicious more than an hour before he opened fire. And then 10 minutes before Trump took the stage, the agency designated the shooter as a threat. But again, still allowed Trump to go on stage. Marsha Blackburn, a senator from Tennessee, and John Barrasso, a senator from Wyoming, confronted the Director Cheadle, at the RNC here yesterday. Watch this.
This was an assassination attempt. You owe the people answers. You owe President Trump answers.
So I know, Mr. Speaker, the Oversight Committee subpoena specifically mentions DHS intervening. Is Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas trying to stop this investigation?
Well, I'm going to find that out. I had him on the phone within hours of the event last Saturday because the buck stops at his desk, ultimately, Homeland Security Director. He did not have a lot of information, some very important facts that he should have had in front of him before he talked to the Speaker of the House about this. I'm not surprised. We impeached Mayorkas for a reason. I think is a horrific. He's done a horrific job. He's opened the border wide, and he's responsible for so much of this mayhem and the danger that every American is in right now because we believe we have terrorist cells set up around the country because the border's been open. So that didn't surprise me. But what we'll do with this task force is go and get those answers from Mayorkas, from Cheadle, and everybody involved. The FBI is investigating the shooter and whether he acted alone or was in concert with anyone. So far, it looks to be that he acted alone. That's what they told us in the call, the unclassified part yesterday. But there's so many more questions than there are answers right now, and it's very frustrating to us, and it is dangerous. It's a dangerous thing. We have got to get accountability.
By the way, how many terrorist cells would you estimate are in America right now?
I don't know. It'd be conjecture on my part, but intuitively we know that this is a serious problem. You've had tens of thousands of Chinese nationalists. We know we have people on the terrorism watch list that have been stopped at the border, but we don't know how many have come in. We assume that there are many, and they're spread out all around the country.
Wow. Okay, so just to reiterate the breaking news, you are calling on President Biden to fire Kimberly Cheadle.
I think desperate times call for desperate measures, and that must be done.
Okay, real quick before you go, it feels like the Biden administration is watching the winds turn with all of this unity here, and they're grasping for opportunities to change the rules. President Biden wants to put term limits on the Supreme Court now?
It's absurd. It's absurd. First, they proposed they wanted to expand the number of justices when things don't go their way. Then they wanted to impeach a couple of them. Now he wants term limits. It's absurd. That would never be passed through Congress. And by the way, it's in the Constitution that they serve for life based on their good behavior. So we would have to change everything about the tradition and the way the court is organized. It's
all
madness.
of this as Joe Biden and the Democrats say that it's Donald Trump that is a threat to democracy.
Everyone knows that is not true, and that's why we're seeing a demographic shift in the electorate, and we're going to have an extraordinary November.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to be watching your work for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
House Speaker Mike Johnson. We'll be right back. We're live on Fox Business from the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee.